Hello, this is Moos Jacobs for the Bar Spoken Word, and I'm pleased to say that I am talking to somebody in Coventry, I think, Scott Healy, aka Dangermouse, and he is a poet, and he will be coming to Clonakilty to the Bar Spoken Word in the Bar Folk Club on the 11th of August as part of the Coventry Cork Poetry Exchange. Coventry and poetry, they rhyme, I think. So you're one of the chosen Coventry poets that will be packaged and sent to Ireland, in August. Scott, welcome.
Well, thank you for the welcome. I can't wait to come.
Yeah, I mean, can you? I mean, how long have you been a poet?
Um, Over 10 years, but it's hard to gauge the exact date without going backwards through time. But it's over 10.
Okay, okay, and there is because you're a spoken word artist, I suppose, or
Primarily,
write poetry for the page, as they say.
I have done the odd thing for the page. It depends on what I'm doing, but mostly it's to be intended to be said out loud.
Okay, okay. And do you eventually also want to sort of publish a collection of poems on the paper,
Um,
but not in your
I would love to. I probably
sites?
already have two or three books. It's just I'm dyslexic and I do struggle with formulating and putting things into an order because I'd much prefer to just have these are the ones I didn't throw away, enjoy them. But people don't want that. They want it in a condensed thing, themes leading into themes, and it's just not something I've managed to do.
Okay. And can you say something about the process of writing a poem? Because your poems are quite what I've read are quite good in the sense that you come up with surprising combinations,
Well,
visuals, for example.
that's possibly how they start because they don't necessarily start as a formed idea. It's an offshoot, and then I think about it for a while, and then I have things that build up into it, and then I try and make sense of it sometimes. But it genuinely depends on what I'm trying to do because if I have an idea, it's easier to just go with. But a lot of the time, I'm trying to force myself to write something, and then I try and hook onto something, and then build from there.
Okay. So can you remember one specific idea that started off a poem?
Um, well, occasionally it's workshops, but sometimes you can go online and there are prompts. But instead of it's just how do you feel about X thing that happened to you, it's just something like, what would you do if you could fly?
If you could fly or die.
Yeah, yeah, but then you write something about what you would do if you could fly,
Okay.
and then that's a good idea to keep from. But depending on what headspace you're in, it can go any direction, which is kind of why a lot of my work tends to be very varied, but just written the same in a like a rhyming sense, or there's a pattern.
And do you then work on it in the sense of uh trying it out and see how it feels when you say it aloud? Is that what the work is?
Strangely, no, because I write how I talk in my head. It's I don't have to say it out loud. It just comes out on the page that way, which is part of the problem with submitting things occasionally because it's not the same language. But quite a lot of the times, I tend to like have a give myself force myself with a little small deadline to read for another poetry night to make myself continue. Because if unless I have an idea that I actually enjoy working on, I kind of have to sometimes make myself finish it. And then by making myself finish it, I don't then look back. I'm not usually someone who goes back and redoes their poem again, or if I do, it's like a single line or a one particular change.
And do you learn your poems by heart?
I've done it a couple of times, but because mine are so short, it's too many, and then it's a lot to remember. And then because they're done in a similar pattern, I'll remember one line, and then might go into a different poem completely because it's on a similar flow or talking point.
Okay. Okay.
But I
And
haven't quite worked out.
how 10 years ago you started writing poetry, and um You are from Cork. Can you just tell me a little bit about your background, about who you
Um, Sadly, I'm a little bit of a stereotype. I had my heart broken when I was a teenager, and then I
are?
wrote some words down very badly, and then I just kept coming back. And that was kind of it, really, because I don't really have a very strong like English background. I failed English, so it was more about my opinions and what I see rather than my ability to like write it down, which is why speaking it became more important.
Okay, but there is no good or bad way to be a poet. I think there is just the fact that you continue doing it,
Yeah, I'm not very academic
pursuing a
in
poem.
that sense.
Yeah, but maybe you don't want to be. I'm not very academic either. It doesn't
I
interest
think it's more free flowing because sometimes rules help to make you better, and sometimes they just keep you penned in. It depends on what you're doing.
me. Yeah. And how did I mean? Did you will be coming together with Maxi the Poet?
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, and but you know each other. You've been working. I talked to him last night, but you've been working.
Yeah, we've been working on and off. We do a lot of open mics. He's hosted his own night before, and he's brought me up before. So we've slowly knew each other quite well over the coming time, but it's still quite exciting because
Okay.
I don't know him besides enjoying poetry and the odd event and hosting and setting up. So I don't actually haven't spent much one-to-one time with him. So that'll also be good to do on this trip anyway.
Okay. And have you been to Ireland before?
No, I haven't, and it's something I've it's on my list of things to do, particularly for my grandparents. I intend to scatter some of my grandparents' ashes while visiting.
I were they Irish?
Yes, well, my granddad was my nan was Welsh, but even on her Welsh side, her family was originally Irish. So
Yeah. Because Healy is yeah, Seamus he Heaney. Okay,
I
it's
believe
an Irish name, isn't it?
yeah, I believe my family's from Galway.
Okay. So okay. And but do you feel English?
To be fair, I don't really know what it means to be English, other than Yorkshire puddings, Yorkshire tea, and full English breakfast. I think the list drops off fairly fast, so I'm just quite happy to be where I am.
Yeah. Okay. And you because would it be possible for you to say a few lines of any poem that you know by heart, or is that
Uh,
you have something in
I
front of
don't
you that
think I know. I don't think I know many by heart, but
or what you that
um,
on paper,
pardon, sorry.
or you could read it from paper.
It's just more having it to hand. Oh no, ever no. I do not want to buy your premium plan.
Is it
um,
poetry? No.
okay, I can read the first line of the first like little block of something I intend to read. It's
Okay.
like an introductory poem, so it's who I am. I'm a picky eater with no sense of taste. I'm leave me alone with a bother me face. I'm gifted shoes, but was 11 before I could tie a lace, and I'm a 2 gram phone in a 4 pound case. That's like the beginning,
Okay.
but this is like a minute and a half, and like I said, I wasn't necessarily expected to read anything.
And Danger Mouse, because Danger Mouse is a rapper and it's also
I believe he's a producer,
science.
but I didn't know that until afterwards.
Oh, okay. Okay, because it's also a comic.
Yeah, it's a cartoon, an old English cartoon from I believe the 60s and 70s time, maybe more 70s.
Okay, and was that your source of inspiration for the name?
Um, the source of inspiration is I'm quite bad at talking to people. I'm quite shy, and Danger Mouse is always a character that carries his insecurities along with his sidekick and saves the day anyway. So that's a theme of it, but it's also comes from like silly things like it was a nickname I'd been given, and then after a while, if you have it for a while, people ask you why you have it, and I've made many reasons over the years as to why I might have this name, but it's also something I just got stuck with.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't intend to change it, but it kind of just happened. I never expected to take this as seriously as I ended up doing.
But do you mind being shy?
No, it's not. It was all about trying to overcome it, but it has its limitations. I don't necessarily talk to people better. I can talk to crowds, great, but I can't necessarily talk to people one on
Okay.
one better as well. But that was the original intention. But now I'm out there. It's just something. It's good to have something to do, and otherwise I wouldn't.
And do you actually get a kick out of performing in front of audiences?
I do when it goes well, but the problem with being a performer that relies on that is after a while it becomes hard to then uh, do better than you did before, and then you
Okay.
start chasing something that's harder and harder to get. But ultimately, yes.
Do you have big ambitions like wanting to
Um, I
play
did, but
stadiums?
I I wouldn't mind. The audience isn't necessarily the problem. I'm not very good with the dealing with emails and the in between bits that you have to be good with. I'm good at turning up and doing the thing you told me to do.
Okay. And because we started this conversation, but I think that we weren't recording then, that you told me that you hadn't been on a phone for years. Is that
No,
correct?
I haven't used Zoom for years.
So you haven't used Zoom for years, but I thought you said I didn't have a phone.
No, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
I tend to use my phone a lot more nowadays than I used to.
Okay. No, I thought it was exotic. As if if you imagine people not being on a phone, which is quite possible. I think I even know people who don't use anything but a sort of a kind of small phone with that you can just phone with. But
The big difference from me switching from paper to my phone is I have really bad handwriting, and if I'm reading something and I'm remotely nervous in any way, it makes the paper harder to read and it's harder
yeah,
to track. So it's more
yeah.
condensed on a phone, but then I have the problem of then doing this when I should be doing this. But
Okay.
it's getting better and better.
Okay. What was your best performance experience so far,
Um,
or a good one?
this
Doesn't
is
have
going to
to be.
sound really weird, but a poet that you might be aware of who's done the poetry exchange previously, Anne Atkins. We
Oh yeah.
once earlier on in my attempt to do all of this, we entered a slam competition together, and I didn't do very well. I went out in the first round, but sitting in the back with the pressure off of me, and then getting to see and go through the rounds and eventually win, that was actually one of the best feelings I had because I've it implies that there was no like jealousy or anything in between anybody, and we were just happy to see someone win.
Okay.
And that's one of my biggest memories because of just how many people and how the group came together for it. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that moment.
Okay. And do you do many slam competitions?
Not so much because slams are a bit of a formula, and I think it's a little cheaty
In what
because
way?
a lot of people talk in the same cadence and they'll stop in the same places, but they'll just
Okay.
repeat with their own subject matter. And it
Okay.
sounds great. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like your own voice is in there. I feel like you're using someone else's voice, but with your own words.
Okay. Okay. So you use your own voice.
At least I attempt to. It's hard not to copy
Yeah.
people when it's
Yeah.
good.
But I mean, does that mean that your poem is sort of dictating how you say it?
Partially, because tonally sometimes things will be quiet, but most of the time I tend to be quite fast and sharp, and then I'll change pace and then I'll continue. But it also depends on the theme, because if I'm being nice and happy, that'll be gentler. If I'm angry, it'll be a lot louder.
Okay. And do you get angry? Do you get
Yeah, people describe my performance as energetic, but I think that's not fair. I'm just loud.
okay?
Because
But do you feel
energetic to me is moving around and being.
do you feel real anger sometimes when you perform?
Yeah, but in a righteous way, where like I'm not usually yelling at anybody. They're usually with me on the, well by the time I'm there.
Okay, but do you do like political poems or something like that?
Um,
Or about
Not
political
necessarily.
causes?
I do things that might have political leanings, but I like to think about to talk about things I've either seen or know or have experienced that I don't know how to change or but would like to change.
Mhm.
So they lean on it, but they're not directly calling out people or anything like that. It's just I want to. have a general inspired for change rather than finger pointing, because there's a lot of people being very parental out there, and it's not the same as learning.
Okay, but can you tell me something you'd like to change? Because I'm quite interested in change. It's one of my hobbies.
Um, Honestly, I'd like to change the idea of the idea that there are adults. There aren't adults. There are just children with responsibilities. And it's easy to see when people can get petty and people can have their little struggles and how you can regress to being a child again. But they think they're an adult. No one can tell them off anymore, especially no one else. And if you don't become your own parent in some way, that's why a lot of people go off the rails. And then people will be surprised at what they've changed. But what they really had was a lack of discipline, and they rode off into the sunset because, no one can tell me I'm an adult. I just wish people remember that we're all kind of not just imperfect, but we're not meant to be perfect, and anything else is an illusion at attempting it.
Hmm. Okay. So that's it's a bit strange that we all, or not all, I'm not sure, that a lot of people seem to have this idea that perfection is necessary, and if you're not perfect, you're not good enough.
Yeah,
But
and people
you're
say this.
saying perfection doesn't exist. What? Sorry, I
I'm sorry. People say a similar thing about poetry. Some people say poetry is precision. I think poetry is more like it's the accuracy of how it feels. It's more how it hits you, not how I've intended to hit you. Do you know
okay.
what I mean? Because some people can get different things from different things, and that's why some people, once they've written something, it's no longer theirs because you can't control how people react to it.
No, no, that's true. Okay. Um, yeah. Do you feel there is any things we haven't covered that you would like to cover tonight?
Um, no, but I also wasn't sure what to expect because I don't necessarily give typical answers for things, and I don't know if it was going to be for an awkward conversation or a good conversation. So I was just kind of hoping for the best.
Okay, but I don't think there is any rules. I mean, people are so different. It's already okay if you establish some sort of connection, and
Hmm.
or if you're interested in another person, which I generally am. So I look forward to seeing you on stage at the Barras on the 11th of August. I mean, you know that the night before you'll be performing in Ó Bhéal Go Bhéal. Does that ring a bell or not?
Yeah, it does. It's just more of I was just hoping to get led to the place, enjoy a beer, read.
Yeah, yeah. That's what's going to happen. I'm sure that they tend to take good care of the guest, so you'll be transported somewhere, and then you can
Yeah,
meet
I
the
think I'm genuinely
audience.
more. I think I'm genuinely more worried about traveling. I don't know. I don't get on planes very often, but I'm sure I'll
Oh,
live.
yes, people usually do, except when
These
they're.
are exciting problems, not bad ones.
Okay, thanks very much, Scott, and see you in August.
Thank you, and I look forward to it. Thank you for everything.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.